All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Beeman Show. I'm glad to see everybody's here today. Today is going to be quite an interesting program. We're going to be talking about the National Defense Authorization Act. And we have the new screen behind us all lit up, and we're going to try to use it as much as we can. And the National Defense Authorization Act is very important at what funds our military throughout the fiscal year. So we want to get into what's going on, and there's some snaky kind of stuff going on. There's a coup, if you want to call it a coup, a military takeover trying to take control of the United States. And we're going to take a look at some of the people. I'm going to show you who they are, who's been involved and what they've done. And we're going to try to take a look at it. We're going to take a look at it from a general perspective, because there's no way in 35 minutes as I'm going to be able to cover this in detail. I mean, it's so much going on that I've actually had to write notes. I had to write notes. You know, I know these topics and these subjects, but it's so much. I actually had to write down notes for an opening statement so I could get us all in the same framework, thinking about the same things in the same way, so you can understand kind of where I'm coming from. So I'm just going to have to read it because it's just too much to go over individually. So just bear with me and allow me to read what I wrote down. It's kind of like just a cover sheet of what we're going to cover today. Okay, the National Defense Authorization Act, it has a section in it, section 224. It aims to mandate and integrate defense technologies with Israel. It creates a structural integration between the two militaries by mandating that the Secretary of Defense to designate someone that they're calling, and in the legislation they're calling this person the executive agent. He will be above the Pentagon and everyone else in the United States military, State Department, FBI, TA. He's going to be above everybody except answer only to one person, the president. So this is basically creating another president to run the military and run the country. An executive agent. What's that? It's a coup. That's what that is. He'll have the authority to expand and integrate United States national defense technology, industry, manufacturing, to integrate co-production. Now Israel's going to be involved in building our weapon systems with all U.S. contractors like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Sikorsky, all of our high-tech aircraft. It goes beyond just manufacturing. It gets into software development, hardware, technological systems, and data storage and collection. It hands over command and control systems, allowing Israel digital access and to fully integrate operational in real time. They can see what we're doing anywhere in the world, 24/7. It gives them access to sensory, telemetry, aerospace, satellites, intelligence collecting, autonomous military systems, missile technology, guidance systems. This executive agent would have the authority to direct joint research, testing, procurement, even for United States ground forces, their training and development, access to counter-drone U.S. systems, anti-tunneling technology, autonomous robotic systems, directed energy weapon systems, some of our most classified weapon systems, cyber defense technology, access to the United States Army battlefield command system. Do you know what that means? Every mission, every soldier, every scoop from the battlefield, they have access to operational planning, battlefield awareness, and incoming tactical data from the battlefield. And I barely covered it. I barely covered it. That's just a brief review. I mean, there's over 57 pieces of legislation that are out there, and that's just the House version. That's in the House National Defense Authorization Act, Section 224. And there's something like 1,000 pages to this bill, and there's like 300-400 pages of this kind of stuff in the bill. That kind of stuff. All right. Let me show you who these people are. Bear with me. We're trying to use the new system today. I'm trying to use the new system. It's the first time, so just bear with me, okay? Okay. So the first guy that I want to put up on the screen, I want you to see who he is. A guy that put this legislation in. His name is Marlin Stutz, S-T-U-T, Stutzelman. Marlin Stutzelman. Okay, let's get his picture up on the screen here so we can see who this guy is. Okay? This is Mr. Stutzelman, a Republican from Indiana in the House. He's the guy that put this legislation up, put this in the NDA bill. His name's on it. But this guy, he's not the only. This retard, he's not the only one involved in this. What would we kind of call it? A coup, conspiracy to take over the United States. I don't know what you want to call it, but it certainly don't look normal to me. This stuff, giving access to Israel for this stuff. So this is Mr. Stutzelman. All right. I guess another guy that's involved with this stuff too. Here he is. Okay. Here he is. This guy's name, Abe, or I see him as Abe Hamadeh. Hamadha. Okay. I believe it's 8th District, Arizona. What are these Stutzelman and this Heyman guy got? What do they got going on with Israel that they want to give this kind of power and control to Israel? What is their? They must have some type of some kind of connection with Israel. They got to have some type of connection to Israel. I found one connection to Israel. I'll show it to you right now. Okay, I'll show it to you right now. Here it is. Here's the connection to Israel. Look at it. Stutzelman and Hamadeh with Netanyahu in Israel. They went to Israel, and then when the two of them came back, voila, magically in shows up this what do you want to call it? Mutiny? Treason? Insanity? Shows up in the appropriations bill. Okay? It's crazy. It's crazy. Excuse me. Okay, sorry about that. I had to take a cough there, man. Hey, so I got the screen up. I got some other stuff here I want to show you. Okay? There's some stuff I want to show you. I want to show you this. Let me show you this over here. Okay? Look at this site. This is the Quincy Institute. Okay? This is from the computer. Okay? Let me read what it says. I think you should be able to see it up here. Hopefully you can see that okay. It says cooperation without oversight, the United States Israel Defense Technology Cooperative Initiative. That's what it says on that line right there. Okay? Is an overview. Okay? And you can go to this site and you just type in section cooperation and oversight on your phone. On your computer, it will give it to you. Okay? You can see it. It's right there. And I pulled a few excerpts out of this, and that's what I read you. But there's a lot more into it. Here's a section here. It says Joint Ventures Licensing and Cooperative Agreement. Means Israel is going to be now part owner, according to this legislation, part owner of all of our missile systems and our technology. That anything that we produce in America, they're going to be part owner. Yeah? Yeah? This goes on. We don't have time to go through the whole thing, okay? But, it's bad enough that we sit here and we talk about this, and I'm explaining this in the House bill, and you think that, it's getting a lot of attention, and we got to push against this. This is not good for America. It's kind of like a soft coup. They're trying to take the country over. They're going to appoint someone that has authority to tell the military what to do besides the president. This executive agent fella, they are going to do all this stuff. But, I think it's bad enough. But just so you know, they went out, and that's all out in the opening where everybody can see it, so people are complaining about it. And then they go behind your back. And guess what the Senate does? The Senate creates section, let me see if I can enlarge this a little bit for you. Can you see that okay right there? All right, section 622 amendment in the Senate version of the American Defense Authorization Act. They have their own section number 622, amendment makes Israel intelligence sharing harder to reduce. What a soft way to peddle that. It does all the same things that the other section does. Does the same thing. Same exact thing as the House bill. It just does the same thing over and over again. Okay? And this, another photo op, a Netanyahu, okay, with Marco Rubio. What are these guys doing? Trying to destroy this guy. I don't know what Marco Rubio's doing. This may not have nothing to do with it. It's just the picture. But let's continue on. I want to show you something else. Let's open this up. Can you see that? Okay. So what I'm showing you here is it's not rolling. It's V-roll from the computer. Okay. It's part of a video that I produced for this program back in May of 2025. 11 months ago. May or June, about 11 months ago, 12 months ago, on this program called Israel, Iran, and World War III, because we're getting an indication that Israel was going to be expanding the war where they was killing all the Palestinians in the East Bank down in there by the ocean. And I hate to be the guy that comes on this show and I have to be that guy. I have to be the guy who says, I told you so. Because this ain't the first I told you so that we're going to look at right here. Okay? I warned you about Fukushima, cesium-135. What they were doing in Japan with that old Fukushima plant, dumping all that active waste in the ocean. I warned you about that. And then along comes poison shrimp and poison fish from the Pacific, right? Big scare. I warned you about Henrietta Lacks, and I actually did an emergency broadcast because I was so concerned that somebody might go to the store and get that stuff. I did an emergency broadcast of Henrietta Lacks' cancer cell meat that they're trying to feed people. I warned you about that. Now it's right in the store, right down here. You can go right almost any store, it's everywhere. You've been eating that stuff? And I warned you that Israel. Watch what I said about Israel. Well, if we just get rid of Israel, we'll get rid of our problems. And that's building to a head. That's going to end up in this massive World War III. All the countries, you've seen the map. You've seen the map right behind you. We went through each country. It's already lined up exactly the way it says in Ezekiel chapter 38 by the names of the children of Noah. It's all lined up. Israel keeps instigating. They're going to cause more and more and more and more problems. And I would even go as far as to say is if not sooner, at least by October of this year, Israel is going to start another bombing campaign or some type of conflict somewhere. They're going to start again. Because you got 6 months and Netanyahu is going to be out on his... And what happened? I paused it. What happened? They went and started bombing Iran and created this whole nasty mess, shut down the Strait of Hormuz, dragged Trump into it, which I think he knew what he was doing, and caused all these issues, right? They started it again. They don't stop. Heels, and he's going to need another conflict to stay in power. So he's going to start something somewhere by probably around October. It is just never going to end. It's just going to keep going and going, and eventually, all these Russia and China and all these countries are going to go, a year ago, we've just had enough of Israel, and we're going to take them out, and it's going to set up this World War III scenario that we're looking at. Yeah, I almost got dragged into it. Okay. All right, let me just stop this. Well, all right. Like I said, you know, I hate to come on here and be this guy that's warning you about some of this stuff that's going on. And sometimes I feel like, you know, I just sort of poof, wasted my breath. Because what am I doing today? I'm on here today warning you about what's coming up next. You know, if Israel gets this much control over the United States, they won't have anybody to stop them. They're going to start. Now, here we go. I'm warning you again. They'll start a war with Turkey next. They'll try to take over Turkey. And Turkey's got the largest military going in the Middle East, outside of perhaps Germany. I mean, Turkey is huge. They've already said it. I've already heard them say they want Turkey to. Fortunately, Trump has been saying things like, Netanyahu, you're crazy, you're killing innocent people. Do you know that Israel has destroyed in southern Lebanon, a huge area, approximately 800 Christian churches and 10,000 Christian homes? Just indiscriminate carpet bombing. Christians that never did nothing to you. What did Trump say about it over at the summit? Israel's committing war crimes, he said. You know, you don't blow up an entire apartment building to get the possibility of getting one Hezbollah guy and killing another 30 innocent people. That's a war crime, he said. That's what Trump said. And he's right. Well, they're not going to stop. They're going to keep going. And if they get their hands into the United States military and they get as much control as this House Bill 224 and Senate Bill, I think it's 622, would give them, that World War III is coming a lot faster than we realize. Get a picture of another guy up on the screen. I want to talk about this guy for a second. Okay, the guy's picture on the screen, he's a good guy. This guy's name is Ivan Raiklin, okay? He's a former lieutenant colonel in Special Operations, Special Forces. I think he's Green Beret lieutenant colonel. He's a talk show host. He's a lawyer. He's a former defense intelligence analyst in Washington at the Pentagon. Okay, he's an activist and an American patriot. And I got a couple of clips of him that I would like to play for you now, that he is going to be talking about this issue. And I also have another clip that I want to show you of some debate over this section 224 that's been taking place in Congress. And I'll have to edit those in because they're not on the system on the wall. So we'll have to edit those in. And I'll get right back to you.
Trying to promote President Trump's policies, they're trying to do strategic leaks to gain the court of public opinion to kind of the side of pushing against Bibi Netanyahu. But the response is to go ahead and co-opt the legislative branch at a time when the executive branch is not playing ball with Bibi Netanyahu. So I expect a greater escalation of this sort of internal U.S. government war, where parts of the government are going to continue to be controlled and influenced by Bibi Netanyahu and his affiliates, the Miriam Adelsons, right, through the political process, especially in this primary season, going to the end of it, which would be September 15th. Then we go into the general election period, for him to continue to exert control over the legislative branch to coerce the executive branch from not going against Bibi Netanyahu's policies. This is that Israel is basically putting themselves into all of our domestic decision making, and we're starting to see that some patriots, like you just said, are trying to get involved and block this from taking place. So let's go back. When you look at the arc of history over the last year, Charlie Kirk was in a position to essentially block the president, or not block, but influence the president in not going to full-scale war with Iran and instead have limited strikes. Once Charlie Kirk was removed off of the battlefield, or the influence within the White House, you had a power vacuum. And that power vacuum, from my assessment, was immediately filled by Miriam Adelson and her allies and surrogates known as Bibi Netanyahu, etc. From that point on, from about September, October timeframe up until Joe Kent's resignation, the monopoly on foreign policy and national security decision-making within the White House rested with Miriam Adelson, Bibi Netanyahu, and probably by a little bit of an extension, or maybe more than just a little bit, Jared Kushner, as we saw. A lot of indicators of that. But when Joe Kent resigned, that was the first moment in a very public manner where an individual within the administration articulated in a very cogent, succinct, methodical, calm, cool, collected, deliberate manner that the Israeli lobby and the leader of Israel right now, we'll see how long that will be, is essentially dictating American foreign policy. And it wasn't until, I believe, a few weeks, maybe as late as last week, that President Trump finally noticed that polling is showing that almost no single citizenship U.S. American citizen supports going to war on behalf of another foreign power.
So what's Ivan Raiklin, American patriot? He's really starting to lay it out pretty good for us right there in this section. All right, I have a letter from Netanyahu. It's a document. Remember we said the document thing wasn't going to work out so good. I might be able to post it up, but I'll try to expand it up as much as I can. And hopefully you can see, because certain section of this is highlighted. I'm going to read it to you. You can find this online. If I can find a better picture, I'll post a link to it in the comments. But this is what we got. So just let me read this to you, okay? Now let me just show you something else here, real quick. I can zoom this in pretty good here. Hold on, let me zoom this in. You see this signature? It says, "Warmest regards, Benjamin Netanyahu," and his personal signature. Hey, this Ivan Raiklin, what's he talking about? He's talking about what we've been talking about. Okay, he's talking about it. He's talking about this military coup that Israel and Netanyahu. And where did this come from? This letter right here that I'm going to read the highlighted section. What Raiklin is talking about, Ivan Raiklin's talking about, and what I've been talking about, I'm going to read this section. But look what it says right here. I don't know if you can't see it. Probably can't see it. But right here on the bottom it says, "To the Honorable Marlin Stutzelman." Remember that picture, Mr. Stutzelman? Mr. Stutzelman? This guy right here, you remember him? This is the guy that Netanyahu wrote the letter to that I'm reading. After him and Hanselman, however you say his name, Hamadan, Hamadh, Hamadan, wrote this letter that I'm going to read the highlighted portion. Okay? What I'm going to read, this highlighted portion. All right? Highlighted portion up here. It begins right up here in this corner. It begins, "My plan," not mine, Netanyahu's plan. "I am glad for your proposal for congressional resolution to endorse my plan." So this Stutzelman gets this letter from Netanyahu who says, "I am glad to receive your proposed congressional resolution to endorse," highlighted in yellow, "my plan." Netanyahu's signature's on this document, and he's saying it's his idea for this legislation. This section 224 and this section 622, that's Netanyahu's plan. And Stutzelman is the one that put the proposal together to put it in the National Defense Authorization Act. Let me read this next section. I am heartened by your enthusiastic support for our plan to develop a new memorandum of understanding with the United States government. Well, he don't like the current understanding where Trump says you're nuts, you're killing innocent people, you should be in prison. Memorandum of understanding with the United States government that will draw down U.S. financial military assistance over the next decade. Oh, we don't need your support no more because we're just going to take all your stuff over. It's the deception. We don't need your money because we're going to own your businesses. We're going to take over, right? And replace it with what you refer to as a new framework of joint defense cooperation, co-development, co-production, and mutual investment in areas including advanced missile defense, artificial intelligence, unmanned systems, cybersecurity, and the new next generation military platforms. That's what it says right there in the letter signed by Netanyahu. This is Netanyahu. Israel is attempting to coup and take over the United States. This is what Ivan Raiklin is talking about. This is what today's show is all about. Okay? Now let me get you back to Ivan Raiklin.
Mike Rogers, the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, is the one that's putting forth this bill before the HASC, the House Armed Services Committee. But it was done, again, to back up. Bibi Netanyahu sees that the White House is no longer on board with his war against and regime change in Iran, so then he goes out and reaches out to his surrogates, if you will, in Congress to go ahead and promote legislation that's going to continue.
His agents.
Absolutely. And so it's going to be interesting as we start to dig into specifically for those agents, and we're starting to see some of them, and what are we going to do about it? I mean, the big thing, just to go back, I mean, the referendum with Thomas Massie and the Secretary of War's candidate on behalf of Bibi, essentially, Massie was removed specifically because Bibi Netanyahu didn't want at least one voice expressing the realities of what was going on, that the Israeli government is controlling American U.S. Foreign policy.
I think we're about 33 minutes. I got a video clip of some debate on the floor of the House where they're talking about why is Netanyahu trying to take over America. I mean, how much more do I need to do? I mean, we're about 33 minutes. We got the 3 segments, 3 9-minute segments. We're already running into a 4th segment on the time. And honestly, we've pretty much covered it. You should have somewhat of a general idea of the threat that's going on to the United States. And I would encourage you to please share this video. I mean, click the share button if you're watching on Facebook and just click share, and then when I ask to your timeline, share it to your timeline. People need to know if this thing passes through and Trump don't veto this, and if this stuff doesn't get stripped out, we're in for big trouble. We're in for big trouble. And I hate to be the guy that once again is warning us that this legislation could lead us into a situation where Israel feels emboldened enough to attack Turkey. We're already battled it out with Iran because they dragged us into it, and I warned you back last year. I hate to be that guy, but if this stuff gets through, I think we're headed to war with Turkey. I think that's what's going to happen next. And that's what it says in the scripture anyway. I strongly encourage you to go back and watch that video from June last year, 2025, or it was an I Told You So. That's it for today's segment. That's it for this show. I hope you liked the show. Please share the show. Please get that word out there. And we're under some pretty extraordinary set of circumstances, and we need patriots. We need patriots like John Pulling Jr. If you haven't seen that episode, go back and watch our very first official episode, One If by Land, Two If by Sea, John Pulling Jr. And look at what he did. A person in an extraordinary set of circumstances in an extraordinary time, and that's where we are. That's where we all are. We're in some pretty crazy times right now. So hold up your lantern and please share the broadcast. God bless you all.